Yo, what's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be the second video in our series that's going to be geared towards beginners and new people to Marvel Contest of Champions and showing them how to progress and how to play and what kind of things you should be focusing on in the game. Today in particular is pretty important because this is going to be our progression guide. So as you can see here, I have all of the different pieces of content in the game that you kind of have to do, and I'm just going to go through why I put all of these here, what these different colorations and stuff like that mean, because some of them I think are very important to do, some of them I think are skippable, some of them have like little notes on the sides, and yeah, so I think overall this is what the beginner should be focused on when they're first starting the game. Now there's a lot of content that's missing from here. So as you can see, there's stuff off to the right. So if we scroll over, there's things like Act 5 Exploration, Act 6.1 and 6.2, which gets you to Cavalier difficulty. There's the Variant 2.6, the actual variant difficulties, Act 7, Realm of Legends, Abyss of Legends, Labyrinth of Legends. All of this is very end game. I would not focus on this. If you see it on the screen when you're as you're playing, don't worry about it. There's a lot of different things in this game that you can do, and it can seem overwhelming, but this is so end game that you shouldn't even be thinking about this. There's also, which I didn't have here, which is the monthly event quest, the normal difficulty. I don't think it's worth it at all to do, because if we go in here, let me just hide this for a second. If we go in here and look at the monthly event quest rewards, you don't get much from the completion. It's basically just a premium crystal and some catalyst. You get a little bit from the exploration, but to be honest, from the energy that you're going to put in to explore this, I'd probably say to just put that towards Act 3, Act 2. If you really wanted to, I would say you can probably squeeze it in sometime between Act 2 and Act 3. So you can shove it, let's just do this live. You could shove it right here if you want to. However, I don't think it's 100% necessary, but if you really wanted to do it, you can put it there. And then there's also these pieces of content, which are Arena, Incursions, Alliance Quests, Alliance War, and Side Quests. So this is stuff that doesn't use your normal energy, with the exception of Side Quests. Sometimes they can, but I feel like in most scenarios, they don't typically cost energy. It'll be like 1 energy per thing, and it'll be really short paths. So this is just stuff that you should be doing while you're doing all of this stuff anyways. If you want to know why these different things are important, I'll have my initial beginner guide linked in the description below, so you can go ahead and watch that video, skip around the timeline to the Alliance section or Arena section, whatever it is, and see why it's important, because Alliance Quest in particular is very, very, very important for ranking up your characters. But yeah, so let's just go ahead and jump into what the actual progression guide is. So if it's labeled blue, I think it's 100% necessary to progress in the account. I think green is basically labeled exploration, which is when should be completely leaving your mind, like there's nothing else to get from it. And then red is you can do it if you want to, but it's not necessary in my opinion, and probably not worth the effort, so you can skip it. For instance, these, they don't give any new or not any noticeable amount of character shards or anything like that. The reason that I'm doing them is because each one of them you get, let me see if I can just show you, you get a mastery core from doing the classic, which is important for, of course, unlocking new masteries. So I'm going to be doing them. However, if you're somebody who would rather just pay the units for those mastery cores, or you don't really care about masteries, which I think you should, but if you don't, it's completely your decision. You could just completely skip this and skip from heroic completion to heroic exploration. Or let's say up here, like let's say you struggled with Act 1 completion, or you really care about those units because you're going to be 100% free to play. I would recommend doing that 100% exploration before doing Act 2, because I think in total it gives you like 500 units or something close to that, which is pretty sizable. It's just, in my opinion, it's probably not worth the effort on the energy, especially early on, because you kind of want to be maximizing hello, why is this not, there we go. You kind of want to be maximizing your beginner boost and getting as much experience as possible. So you want to push as far into the game as possible, because especially when you start getting to Act 4, the experience gain that you get from there is super massive. So that's my reasoning behind that. Same thing for Act 2. I don't think the exploration is really worth the effort. You'll get like, I think it was like 5 or 6 different 3 stars. However, if you're not going to be doing consistent arena, I'd rather put the energy that it would cost to explore this into Act 3, because this will push you towards 4 stars. If you're going to be doing arena, I would probably say that this is fairly efficient and you can do it if you want to, because those 5 or 6 characters is going to be a lot of extra points towards your beginner bracket arenas, which will be also pushing towards 4 stars. So it's kind of just what you want to do. Monthly event quests, I kind of already touched on. I don't think it's personally worth it, but if you find that value, or if you're completely new and you don't think you're up for Act 3 yet, you can definitely jump into this to try and practice and gain that confidence and that skill to get to where you need to be. Because as you can see here, Act 3 exploration would be kind of your stat check, which is what I would recommend. Actually, I'd probably put this as blue, because I do think it's pretty important to do. So this would be your stat check. If you can do this pretty confidently without getting deaths that aren't like, oh man, I did a simple misclick, or I dashed in as they were doing a special attack, something like that, I think you're fairly good to keep pushing through. However, if you get to this part and you find yourself struggling, then I would start jumping back into these red areas, or maybe start jumping into the back issues, just to try and practice and get a little bit more comfortable. So when you're done with Act 3 completely, I would say you start jumping into the monthly heroic, and at this point you should have a couple different 3 stars at 440 and a couple 4 stars at 220, some variation of the two. I mean, me, even without having completed Act 4 or Act 3, I still have a couple that could go to rank 2 if I wanted to. Oh, let me actually unblur this. So there's a couple different 4 stars that I could rank up to rank 2 if I wanted to, and a couple different 3 stars that I could take to rank 4 if I wanted to. However, I'm not going to do that yet, just because I'm trying to hold out until after I finish some more content, opening up their 4-star crystal to see if there's somebody else that I pull that I want to put those resources into. But yeah, by this point you should really be having at least a couple of those different options that are pretty strong that should be able to carry you through. Again, if you're interested in masteries and mastery cores, or you don't feel like buying them, then definitely go ahead and start the classic difficulty completion here to start farming those through. If you don't, feel free to just skip this and go straight from the monthly heroic completion to the exploration. From here, you're going to jump into Act 4, which is very, very long content. There's a lot of paths. I think there was one path that I can remember doing that took like 3 energy refills, because you have to go like, you start here, the boss is here, but to get through all the different paths you have to go around and go around, go around, and then circle back to the thing. So it's like 40 or something like that different nodes that you have to go through. However, they did decrease the energy per node from 3 to 2, so it shouldn't be that bad anymore. But yeah, Act 4 isn't too difficult, but it is very long, so it's a massive grind to get through it. However, actually, I'm not even sure I can... Yeah, I can't show you right now because I'm currently in a quest, but Act 4 rewards are pretty good. I think you get a couple 4 stars, a generic 4-star awakening gems, some signature stones. I think you get tier 4 basics and stuff like that. Just a lot of resources that really focus you towards the 4-star roster and building that up, which will help you get to Act 5, Act 5.2, which should be your goal as a beginner to be able to become uncollected. I think that's the ultimate kind of stat check for a beginner to see if you're ready to progress into that next layer of content. Now, it is difficult. As an experienced player, I did it with a full team of 4 stars at rank 4. They were pretty good 4 stars. I think I had like Void, Spider-Man Stark, maybe I had Blade at the time too, and I think like Rogue. Like those are all very solid 4 stars, especially for the content that you're going to be doing. And I think I still probably spent somewhere between 200 to 400 units completing Act 5 to try and get the uncollected title. However, it is possible to do it with less. It is possible to get some rank 5 characters possibly, especially with the side events and stuff like that going on, depending on when you start. But yeah, I do think that's the ultimate goal, because this is where Act 5 is where they start adding some pretty difficult nodes in. So you're going to have to really adjust your playstyle. It's not going to be parry, attack, parry, attack, parry, attack. There's going to be specific scenarios where you need to know how to counter them. Like I think the hardest path for most people is the masochism chapter, which basically is a node that makes it so whenever you debuff the opponent, they eat that debuff basically and heal up. So your parry doesn't work once every like 10 seconds or something like that. So whenever you try to parry, not only does it not stun them, but it heals them. And it's really hard for newer players to really adjust to not parrying anymore. There's also one called Buffet, which is the same thing, but instead of debuffs, it's whenever you get buffs. So you can't really dexterity like that, otherwise you're going to be healing them up a bunch. So this is where it's going to really jump up in difficulty, and that's why I have this set as the goal. However, I do think if you can complete all of this stuff, you'll become a pretty solid player, and you'll have a pretty solid roster by the time that you finish all of this stuff and a pretty solid understanding of the game. And once you're done with this is when I would start looking towards these other avenues of the game. So you can maybe do Realm of Legends to really test your endurance, because these are very simple fights, but they have large health pools. I think they have like 500,000 or 600,000 health, something close to that. So very straightforward, but they really test your endurance and your ability to stay in a fight and not mess up too much because you can't heal and stuff like that. Road to the Labyrinth, which is also very difficult. It's kind of on the level of 5.2, where it's going to have difficult fight or difficult champions with difficult nodes. So there's things like Stun Immune Nightcrawler, which I know a bunch of people struggle with. And again, it's kind of just a stat/skill check on how good you are at the game. And once you get this, you'll get a key, which will open up Labyrinth of Legends, which is an even higher echelon than Realm of Legends, because they have like 1,000,000 health, but they also, a lot of them do have some kind of tricky nodes. But yeah, I think this is what beginners should be focused on. If you can do this, you'll be a pretty good player by the time that you're done with it. If there's anything that I missed, if there's anything that you guys have questions on, if there's something that you want me to go more in depth into, go ahead and leave all that information in the comments below. Yeah, I think that's it for this video. I think I covered just about every piece of content I can think of. Just again, the red, I would really contemplate if it's something that you need to do, because it's not 100% necessary. So if you feel that you're confident enough to, in your roster and your skill, to completely skip these, then go ahead and jump to Act 3. And yeah, something just happened to my game and the connection shut out. So that's going to be it for this video. I appreciate you guys for coming through. Again, any thumbs up, follows, subscriptions on the channel would really help me out. If you have questions or feedback, leave it in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!